Welcome back to the Nickel and Down Football Show. It's your boy Suds back in the place. The guy, our boy Stegman, did this thing last week. Listen, we are coming back at you. We appreciate you. But your boy is back in town. We got the original, the man behind the wheels of steel. Drew, we are in the house. We talking week 17 action. We getting back to it. A lot happened over this Christmas holiday. First of all, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday. Lock in with us. It's Nickel and Dime, baby. Let's get it.
Suds, so good to have you back, my guy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hopefully it was a Merry Christmas. We actually got to see each other, folks,
We did.
in the flesh. We did.
We're in
It
the
was a
same
great time.
state for once for a change. It's nice.
Yes. But no, it was a great holiday, man. I know you traveling. Good football, a
Oh
lot of
man.
football, a
So
lot of
many
football.
days of football too.
Yeah,
We got it
yeah.
Thursday, Saturday, Sunday,
How how
Monday.
how are you feeling about the Saturday football? Is it any different this year as opposed to last year?
I think I'm around more for it this year. Like I get to
Mhm.
watch more of it. So I'm enjoying
Yeah,
it.
which is
I,
always nice.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
some reason last year, every time it was on Saturday, I had something. It was a travel day or something. I had something going
All
on. I
right.
missed a lot of the Saturday games. And this year, with Christmas being on Sunday, it almost was like it was reversed. Saturday was our Sunday full
Yeah,
slate. And then Sunday, we got the holiday special where you get three games perfectly spaced out. So,
man, it was. And talking about those Sunday games, it took a long time, as most of their wins do, and we'll get to it. But man, the Bucks got me a win, ended with a Merry Christmas. It was about to end sour, very Grinch-like, Drew.
I
But
can
they pulled
imagine,
it
my
out
man.
in the end, man. But a lot to talk about, man. A lot to talk
Yes.
about.
Let's kick in our week 16 recap. Let's start with Thursday night. Jaguars in the division lead now. Don't look now. Jaguars got a
Man,
playoff spot.
what?
Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence throwing for 229 yards, getting a rushing touchdown. And on the flip side, Mr. Zach Wilson completely letting his team down. 9 for 18,
I
92
think 92
yards, and
yards.
an
Yeah.
interception.
And a it. And
And
a
a whole
it.
lot of boos.
Yeah, man. I think the most important note from this game has to be Zach Wilson's play in his ultimate benching.
Yes.
He couldn't shift the line towards where the pressure was coming from. He didn't anticipate the pressure, and when he did actually manage to get a throw off, it was way short. I know without even knowing the numbers, his EPA per play was trash.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you make 9 completions the entire game?
And you had, I mean, you had a lot of time before they put in Streveler.
Who
You had a
moved the ball down the field?
he was the spark that they needed, man. They still only scored 3 points, so make no mistake. Jacksonville, though, they're kind of erratic, are they
Yeah.
not? Like I feel like they
Yeah.
can score a lot, but they only scored 19
But
in what
doesn't
was a
that
great
remind you of a team that can go on a run and knock
excuse me,
off some
Jets.
teams?
Yes. And when I say inept, I meant Jets offense, Drew,
Oh
because their
yeah,
defense uh still playing lights out.
yeah,
And that was another thing. Like Quentin Williams got Zach Wilson the ball back in the red zone after like the first play of the game almost. And nothing. Just managed the 3 points that they only had all game.
yeah. That nice field goal. They had to
Yeah.
put him in field goal range already.
To get the field goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad. Sad is what it is.
Oh man. Well, people in Minnesota aren't sad. Shout out to Steggy for being with us last week.
Hey.
He willed his team into a win. Vikings escape late against the Giants. Kirk Cousins 34 for 48, 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jefferson had one of those. Hawkinson had the other two. Just the Vikings pass game, man. It
Yeah.
bailed him out.
Yeah, it did. And what I wrote down for this is at this point we have to almost consider Jefferson going off a given. I feel like he had another 100+ yard game. But what's more interesting to me is that Dalvo looks like he's starting to heat up at the right time after a couple of down weeks. And if you're me, that's kind of where you want your rush game to be at this point in the season, is it
Right.
not?
So
Going along with that
starting to
pass game.
fire up. Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkinson 2 big touchdowns, getting more
Yes.
involved in the game, Drew. Which
Is he looking like the steal of the trade deadline easily?
I think so, because they're actually getting him involved. Is what oftentimes you see a trade and it doesn't work out the way that it should. We talked about before, due to the time that has to be involved, and they're bucking that trend and just chucking it up to him, and he's making plays with it. The catch alone was great, so I
Yeah,
love
man.
that.
I was really thinking it was going to be Bradley Chubb with Miami, but then here
But they
comes
already not
Hawkinson.
doing anything with Gesicki though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No. So I think Gesicki might be on his way out. But
Be
talking about the
very interested
Giants,
to see
man,
where he goes.
I'm very curious. Yeah, because I think he's going to be a steal. Just to get a quick note on that, but I'm not sure why the Giants relied so much on Daniel Jones this game, Drew. I think he had 42 attempts. It was a 3-point game. It ended up being a 3-point game, but it was a 3-point game well into the third quarter. And Saquon would ultimately ended up as 84 yards, but he averaged 6 yards a carry.
Yeah,
So what's the
and and
why
a touchdown. Like
and a touchdown?
I mean, I don't. You never want Daniel Jones to throw 42 times a game.
No, but I don't know why they leaned into it, and he didn't make a lot of mistakes. I don't think he had. Did he have a picker or
He had
I don't
one
think.
pick. He was
Yeah,
sacked 3 times.
yeah.
So he was
So
under a little distress, but not
right,
enough to. But the game was not at a point
it
where
wasn't.
they needed to completely abandon the run because you got to.
Yeah,
Because even so, the game dictated them running the ball because
yep.
the Vikings had to score 17 points in the fourth quarter to pull this out.
They did, and that's the kind of. I think this is another game where both teams honestly can really pull something out of this. Like, it does hurt the Giants. Don't get me wrong, obviously, because they're really fighting for that position as opposed to Minnesota. But they proved to me that they are now capable of literally fighting with anybody. Like,
Yeah,
there's no team in the league that should not take this team seriously. So again, I think all indications that the Giants are a team that is formidable.
and the good thing for them is the teams chasing them also lost, so they're still doing good in the
Yeah,
playoff race.
yeah. Not
Uh,
Dallas though. Not
Well,
Dallas. Dallas got the win. We'll talk
let's
about it.
talk
Yeah.
about Dallas. Cowboys hold off Minshew and the Eagles. Prescott was a very efficient 27 for 35. He threw that first pick six and said no more. Threw 3 touchdowns and 347 yards after the fact. Minshew had a respectable 24 for 40 hurts, but the 355 was nice. 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
2 picks. One of them bounced off his receiver's hands, and that wasn't really on him.
Yeah. Can't really put that on him. As far as that, like Dallas, they got Minshew and the Eagles at the perfect time. I feel like if it was Jalen Hurts in there, I don't know that they're throwing it 40 times. I
Right.
don't know
He
that
might run it 40 times.
right, exactly. So the rush game will be going on. So I think Dallas they got it at the right time. However, give Dallas credit, they put on a show, like 40 points in that game. Honestly, like, I know that Dallas did still almost lose, but they wound up pulling it out. This type of game, Drew, just to ask you a quick question, what type of game does this team, or which team does this type of game say more about?
I mean, I'm very happy with how efficient the Cowboys offense looked for arguably the first time since Prescott came back. I think Dak Prescott
Good
really,
point.
because the first play of the game, we're like, oh, here we go again. Here we
Right.
go with old Prescott falling apart. But he showed poise. He recovered. He only threw, 7 incomplete passes the rest of the game. I really think his running backs have to help him out more. I know they had to throw a lot
Yeah.
with, they were
Yeah.
trading scores back and forth,
Right.
but Elliott only had 55 yards. Pollard had 19.
Yeah.
That hurts.
And
But
Pollard, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm very excited with what the Eagles showed without their starting quarterback. That's a championship team, is if you can still push a really good team with your backup quarterback.
Man, I'll tell you this. That's literally exactly what I wrote down. Because Philly still almost pulled it off with their backup QB. So they proved that they have the depth. I think Jordan Davis even was in the game, so now he's back. Um, and honestly, like after looking at the wide receiver numbers for this game, as far as for all the number ones that we have in this game, to stop these teams in the playoffs, you are going to have corners who can cover. And if you can't do that, then these teams are probably going to beat you. So if
I
your
really
team,
want them to play in the playoffs again, full force.
oh yeah,
Gotta have this matchup now.
Yeah, I think it's one of the ones that we need to have. NFL probably are they gonna make it happen? I don't know. I don't know if they will, but I would like to see.
Remember, it's scripted. Texans stun the Titans 19-14. Davis Mills throws for 178 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Poor Tennessee's rookie Willis, 2 interceptions. He did have a rushing touchdown, but is Tennessee done for?
I mean, I think so, man. I don't know if they can pull themselves out of this hole, and because they keep continuing to prove. I feel like we talk about this every week with Tennessee, but again, they prove that they definitely need offensive help. I mean, they only put up 14 points against the league's worst team, and then they still got beat at that. So what does that say? And to the Tennessee defense's credit, this NFL team still only gave up 19 points.
Yeah.
Right. And it took a lucky, fluky play for when Davis Mills fumbled and Burkhead recovered or something like that. That's how they got the dub. I feel like that ultimately was the play. So that put them over the top. But other than that, man, I mean, stay tuned. I got something for 3 and Out from this game that I have to ask about. But and I think you're gonna be interested in it. But that's pretty much that was a game because they're going to do this thing.
I mean, as a Texans fan, how long does this hope carry on for you? You push the Cowboys to the max, you push the Chiefs a little bit, you finally beat the Titans. Mm-hmm. Like, are you excited at all as a Texans fan?
I think put it this way, real fans are, because the real fans are able to know exactly who is on that team that's still going to be on that team, the building blocks that they'll need, the building blocks that they'll need with these picks. And also, again, I got maybe 2 questions surrounding this game.
Okay.
Or 3 and Out. I'm telling you, it's gonna be interesting. So stick around for that.
Tuned.
Make sure you like and subscribe, baby.
We also got a great segment coming your way later on called In or Out. And we're going to go over some on-the-cuff teams on if they're in the playoffs.
Yeah. Better out than in, I always say, except
this
scenarios.
Case.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, I get to brag for a second. Panthers shocked the Lions, set a franchise record for rushing yards at 320.
I didn't see it coming. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't see it coming. There's no way, Drew.
I didn't think. I thought we were dead in the water, and we came out wearing the black and silver. I enjoyed the look we had, and we looked vintage, if you will.
Right.
Came out and just Foreman had 165 yards and a touchdown. Hubbard had 125. Darnold and Blackshear had a rushing touchdown each. We just ran all. We exposed the Lions for what killed them all year, and that's letting the run.
In a big way too. Yeah. Like emphatically put it on the Lions, and it wasn't like the Lions offensively, passing offense wise, they were kind of doing their thing. Jared Goff did not have a bad game.
St. Brown.
So it was a rushing day all over for Carolina. And also, before I get into it, shout to the end zone look in Carolina too. That black and blue end zone was dope. More teams need to go with black end zones with the primary color. But not only did Carolina rush the hell out of the ball, have 2 running backs over 100 yards, and Deontay Foreman continuing to prove that, but the rush defense stymied what we have lauded on this show as one of the best running back rooms in the league.
Yeah.
So Carolina is peaking at the right time, man. That's they just took them to the woodshed. They really did.
Yeah. I just worry that this game also exposed us as well, and that as many building blocks in the secondary as we have, we still desperately need secondary help.
Well, because you need at least 3 corners and a safety. That's 4
Yeah,
picks I feel like that you really need to hit on
yeah.
to have
And we got
some.
JC Horn, who, stay tuned
Yes.
for housekeeping notes, out injured again. We have
Oh,
Chin, but we've pushed Chin to so many positions. The dude's got to learn how to be a safety again, because he was
yeah.
playing that hybrid linebacker safety position all year that we hated.
I sort of hate that stunting of young players, especially when they look to be doing so well. And it's like, oh, well, he's so good at this. Let's move him. You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah,
no, like
we've
let
really
him
messed
develop.
up
So,
Chin's
yeah.
dynamic, and I hope he gets it back.
I will say quickly that I feel like if you can stop the Panthers run game, if you can't stop the Panthers run game, that literally opens up everything else for them, because I feel like they're not really a passing team, but if you can't stop the run, play actions all day. And they proved that in their play calling, I think,
Yeah,
yesterday.
I love
Um,
the exact amount we're using Darnold, and I love that he's finding DJ
yeah,
Moore when
yeah,
he does. Like, keep him at that 15 for 22 mark. I love it
yeah.
all day.
He's not what I like is they're not keeping him in the pocket. Like they're kind of moving. He's doing a lot of like, stretch runs, or like some sort of like, like off handoff where he's not in a traditional pocket, like getting him out of there,
Because
letting
we
him
don't
use his
have one.
mobility. Yeah, letting him use his mobility to get the running back ball out in space, and it's
Yeah,
working. So
yeah. Wilkes this team's playing their way into keeping this coach, and I'm here for it.
yeah, I don't know. Interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if he
Yeah,
keeps that job. Yeah.
I'm literally the biggest question mark this offseason for us as Panthers fans. Who's our coach? Packers get big win against Miami. Rodgers 24 for 38, 238 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Tua, even though Waddle and Hill both had 100 yards apiece,
Mm-hmm.
Tua threw those 3 picks, and it just killed him.
Yeah. Brandon, I feel like Miami's good vibes, and the armor for them is really starting to fall apart. This game was
At the
Tua's
worst
at
time.
the worst time, at the worst time, and this game was Tua's meltdown. He did throw the 3 picks. Now, what I don't know is what's likely now attributed to the concussion, which I'm sure you'll talk about in housekeeping notes. If that had anything to do with it, you kind of have to look at it
They
back in
said it was at
hindsight
halftime, right?
now. Exactly. So you kind of have to look back at it at halftime.
Man,
But I,
the internet's roasting the concussion spot team.
they really are. They really are. And those 3 picks and Mostert's fumble
Yeah.
really cost them the game, because they were killing it early, and they just couldn't hold it together. And more so, I say this: the turnovers were big, and I'll kick it to you on this, Drew, because when you look at the stats, Green Bay's skill position didn't really do anything. Like Aaron Rodgers didn't really do that much, so they did just enough. I will say they did just enough, and then made the plays when they needed to make them, but they weren't splash plays though.
No, by any means. Oof. That's a game that I did not see going that route. Not gonna lie.
I didn't. I knew Green Bay could win. I just didn't expect them to win like that.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. All right, well, go ahead and have your weekly moment where we talk about how Brady made a crazy fourth quarter or overtime comeback and saved your team, and you beat the Cardinals. And
And I mean, speaking of speaking of Green Bay not really heating up in a win, Bucks used that same formula of stinking for the middle 3 quarters of the game, just to turn around and win it in the end. This Bucks offense, like, they have to step up and help the defense out. It's not the defense's problem.
yeah, were you happy Lenny got 72 yards?
Well, I mean, he got 72 yards, but look how many times, like, so this somebody else on the Bucks podcast made this point. It's like he got 72 yards, but look how many touches Lenny had to have to get 72 yards. I still feel like Rashad White is that guy. And honestly, I really feel like this game coming up this weekend, which we'll talk about here a little bit later, since both of our teams is coming down to the NFC South. I didn't see this coming. Stay tuned for that. It was a showdown between me and Drew and our teams this weekend for the division crown. But Rashad White was not really involved in that last game, and he is the better running back. So just like get that
only
man
7
involved.
carries, giving
Right.
20 to Fournette.
So I think
Even Vaughn had a higher average.
Yeah.
And he only had 1 carry.
Yeah. So, but he's great at pass blocking. He's great in the pass game, and
he led the team in receiving.
He did, and we needed every bit of everything he gave us. Now talking about injuries, we were just talking about one we're going to mention here in housekeeping notes with Tua. Lenny disclosed on Twitter apparently that he's been battling a Lisfranc injury too. So he's been doing all this with a Lisfranc in his foot. So
That arch, man, that's got
gotta
to be a
shout.
terrible, terrible injury.
Right. So Bucks pull it out, man, but the formula ain't right, bro. The formula is not right for
The formula ain't right for
any
the
type
whole
of deep
NFC
run.
South, my dude.
Right. Right.
Ah. All right, well, let's get into some housekeeping notes. We got a lot to talk about, news and notes of the
Yeah.
day, because out of nowhere,
Yeah.
JJ Watt said this is it. He's done after this year.
Uh did he just dip out? Like did he just dip out or is he done
He
after the year?
he's done after the year. He said he played his
Okay.
last home game and they don't have any more home games.
Ah, man. Well, I mean, he was still there in spurts, but you cannot knock JJ Watt's career. What he did and what he was able to do is clearly in the bloodlines of the Watt family that
Yeah, TJ got
they
a
do the
long
damn
career
thing.
ahead of him
Yeah, hopefully he can stay on the
if he can
field
stay healthy.
just
Yeah,
like JJ. So
yeah,
I would have loved to see what he could have done without all those injured years, but his impact on the field is unmatched, when
yeah.
he was right.
Three-time defensive player of the year. Only two other men to do that, and that was
First ballot, Drew. He a first ballot.
oh, no doubt,
I think
easily.
I think so.
Yeah. I just hate that he never got to play for a big team.
Yeah,
Never really got to see him in the playoffs. I mean, I guess that, but maybe a year or
yeah.
two with Arizona.
Well, and so I feel like we often so see people ring chasing now when they get to that stage in their careers. I think there's something to be said for the mystique players, the players like him who don't get to play for championship teams, because he will forever be solidified as a Houston Texan.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
just what he
Like,
did for Houston.
right, that through and through, especially doing that hurricane off the field. Like, so him not it's just it builds a mystique that, like, man, what could he have done if
Yeah,
he was, so
yeah,
I do appreciate the players like that.
yeah. A great career. I'm glad we got to see him. I hate the injuries kept him from us some seasons. And like we said earlier, Dolphins QB Tua back in concussion protocol. They said the hit that happened around halftime, and my man definitely finished the game.
He did. It Drew is another doctor getting fired.
Please, like when is this gonna? These poor guys are getting murdered out there. Like
Yeah.
it's just scary because like the Patriots wide receiver that was clearly out on his feet, they didn't stop the
Yeah.
game for that. Like
Yeah, and then the player had to call for them to get on the
yeah,
field. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And another one, a scary hit. The Chargers. Derwin James was ejected after a helmet to helmet to the Colts wide receiver Doolin, who is now in
yeah,
concussion protocol. Like that was just a
yeah.
scary hit, real time.
Yeah, it was I didn't know that it was I heard about the hit, did not know that it was Derwin James who did it. And for I feel like for as safe as they're trying to make the helmets, it's almost not helping because the players are just getting better, faster, and stronger. So they're just,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
and it
saying?
was a
Like they're
fluke hit. Like when they started slowing it down, James is definitely trying to lead with the helmet.
right.
It's just the way the play carried them. They both just helmet.
Yeah.
It sounded rough,
Yeah.
and
The
that's what
incidental
James was trying
contact.
to say. He's like, I was trying to,
Yeah.
but he knew it looked bad.
That natural brace. It's always the brace that sometimes catches the player
Yeah,
who
because he
ultimately has
definitely
the
was like,
cut. Yeah, yeah. Like, what are you supposed to do? You're not supposed to be. You're supposed to, like, that's even worse.
we're gonna be playing flag football here for too long.
I'll be here. Reluctantly, I'll still be here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it no matter what.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Broncos fire head coach Nathaniel Hackett after the 4-11 season start.
Get him
Is
out
the
of
wrong
here.
guy? Is the wrong guy taking the fall here though?
Well, the contract says no. So you got to Broncos country. Let's ride with
I
Russell
do
Wilson. That's
appreciate
what
the
you're doing.
GM started the press conference with being like, "I put this team together. I gave him his tools. This is
Mhm.
on me." But my man still got a job.
Man, the GM might be out too. I think it's George Patton or something like that. So
Yeah,
he might be out too. but they gotta make it work with Russell Wilson and
They
just
said
just
who? They
vet the
doubled
right
down.
person.
They
Yeah.
doubled down. Broncos still think he's, and I quote, fixable.
Talking about fixable, actually, if you were anybody not named Pete Carroll, would you have associated the word fixable with Russell Wilson before the season started? I don't think you would have.
I know
So
Seattle's having a little tough time now, but man, they still came out the better of those two. Because you
they
knew
did.
at this season they had to pick head coach or quarterback, and they stuck with their head coach.
They did. Ultimately, and I think they made the right choice because when it's right, the head coach is the straw that stirs the drink,
Yeah,
and he was doing it before Russell Wilson, and he happened to get Russell Wilson, and then he's now doing it after. And if you look at the playoff picture, they're right there, Drew.
yeah,
You're looking up, but they're right there.
and dare I say, stealing from the Broncos, they're a quarterback away.
That they are. They look to be.
One more set of Broncos news before we move on. Broncos, Randy Gregory and the Rams, Ode Abushi. Am I saying this right?
Not sure, but
Uh,
continue.
both get a 1-game suspension for the after-game scuffle. Some
Oh
blows
man.
were traded
Okay.
after the absolute dumpster fire of a game that we all had to watch.
Man, I'm not surprised with that type of game. Yeah, you said it. Like, I'm not surprised blows
What was
were
it,
thrown.
50-14? When it's said and done?
Yeah,
Something like
Baker,
that. Whew.
Baker.
Baker. I think he's going to be a Ram, dude. He's got to be. Nice insurance policy if Stafford doesn't return to form. Great backup
True,
if he
but
does.
like I know Baker don't want to be a backup, and like, is he going to sign on for that? I don't know. It's like a rental. I mean, and then all off season, if he is in town, quarterback drama. That's all that's cool. It's gonna be a quarterback drama in LA for sure. Is Baker better? Is Stafford better? That's what you're looking at, Rams fans. If that's the offseason with Baker
If
there.
I'm McVay, I'm just trying to sell it to him. I'm like, look, Stafford's got like 2, maybe 3 years left. And you might play a good chunk of the season if he gets hurt. So we need you here.
No. I'm sure that's what the coach is going to say, but I don't know if I'm trying to hear that, coach. I'm be honest with you. Be honest with you. Talking about 3 years, 3 years on this bench.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I would love to be a backup quarterback. What you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a backup quarterback who didn't win the Heisman and got drafted #1 overall.
Very true. Very
Right?
true. You're right.
Right.
You're right. Got that fire in him. Okay. This is not something I thought I would be saying this year at all, but Panthers signed cornerback Josh Norman to the practice squad.
My God.
After quarterback J.C. Horn has surgery on his broken wrist, done for the year.
Ooh, I feel like that. So this game coming up with Tom Brady not looking like the Brady that we know.
On Norman.
Which he gonna be feisty. He's gotta make it. He's gotta position himself. If he's just now getting signed, he's got to position himself for after the season. So look for some fireworks. He's gonna do something, and I feel like it's either gonna go one of two ways. Either they're gonna burn his ass and make him kind of second guess that, or he getting the pick. One of the two is gonna happen.
It might be a little of both. The way our teams have been playing, it might be a little of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not think that'd be a housekeeping note I'd be reporting in 2022.
I didn't see that coming. You see the surprise on my face, but hey, back in Carolina, you can tell that it's not there anymore because Josh Norman's back in the building. Yeah.
Jets get quarterback Mike White back, possibly done. I say that in quotes with Wilson.
Yeah. I mean, Drew, if he gets benched, like, what else is there? What else is there for Zach Wilson in New York?
Is that the quickest cut from a quarterback bust? 2 years and done?
Man, I mean, and he's going to get another opportunity. I'm curious about where that opportunity is going to be. Yeah, definitely as the backup. Maybe he'll Mike White Russell Wilson.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious.
Right? But I mean, there's nothing else for him. If they benched him, Salah, he's not messing around. We talked about he ain't got time. He don't have time,
Nah,
you know.
he needs to win now, or he ain't gonna have a job either.
Yep. But shout out to Mike White, man. I love his
Yeah,
story.
yeah. Colts are sticking with Nick Foles despite the 3 picks versus the Rams or versus the Chargers. My bad.
I mean, Drew, should they just have stuck with Matt Ryan the whole time and just rode that
Well, it looks like
out?
he was hurt. He was in civilian clothes.
He was. I don't know if he was at. I don't. Well, I don't know if is he hurt. He might be hurt.
I
I'm not
mean, it,
exactly
it could
sure.
be one of those healthy
Eh,
scratches too. So
But
I
that's
don't know.
that's what I was. That's what I don't know if it's a healthy scratch either way. But I guess what I'm saying is if he is not hurt with the ups and downs that they've still had with Nick Foles, with which what they've had with the other quarterbacks who aren't Matt Ryan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
he
before,
right
it's been
shoulder
so.
sprain versus the Titans.
Oh, okay. Right, right, right. But like they've been so up and down at that position. Should they just have not benched him in the first place and let him work his way through it? Is what I was getting at. You know,
Yeah, I definitely think they hurt him that week. They put in Ellinger for
Etlinger.
him
Yeah,
just for no
yeah,
reason.
yeah.
I think that destroyed any chance of him having a decent year.
Confidence wise, it definitely could have been that for sure. And even if, as a veteran, I mean, I think you would still go through confidence issues. I mean, he's only human, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, yeah. All right, man. Let's get into my favorite segment of the week. We got 3 and out.
3 and out. Let's
Sean, you want
go.
you want first down, or you want me
I
to?
do want first down, man. I got to
Okay.
get back in there since the boy took week off. You know what I'm saying? I got to get back in there with energy, with authority. Listen, first down, Drew. We talked about this earlier, right? I think you won't like this question. With Tennessee having a rookie QB who clearly is the future there in Tennessee, and them being offensively inept, like I talked about earlier, Drew, by the time this team actually gets it right, will Derrick Henry still be able to provide as much as he does for this team?
Man, I unfortunately am looking at Tennessee and thinking that they just need to see him see it. I'm sorry, man. Like, you're not going to win now with him.
Mm-hmm.
You need to build up Willis. You need to determine if Willis is the future. You need to get some wide receivers. You need a more balanced offense.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to they need to let Derek's wings fly and go be with a contender for a couple of years while they figure it out.
I think if that was the case, they could probably. I don't know if they get a king's ransom, King Henry, like what you did there, like what they did there. But I think they would get enough. You know, I think
Yeah,
it would warrant at least a first, maybe first and a third. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to get a first and a second. I don't think you're getting two first. That ain't happening.
we can probably get a first, a
Definitely
third,
a
and then
first,
maybe another
a
like second or
conditional
third the next year.
or a player back. But I think they
Yeah,
could get enough to make it worth it, especially for Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a good answer. That's a good
yeah.
answer.
All right, second
Second
down,
down.
man. With Nathaniel Hackett getting canned, which head coach is next?
Oh
You know they're
man.
not done. You know some more coaches losing.
Oh man. Looking at it, I don't think okay, I don't think there's going to be any more in-season fires. I mean, we only got 2 weeks left in the regular season. But if I had to look at the candidates, I'm probably going with it ain't Steve Wilkes. It might be a mutual parting of ways with
Yeah,
Steve
if they
Wilkes,
don't come
but
to
the
like
word
contend.
firing is not coming. Yeah, right. It ain't coming there. Drew, I'm probably going to say, I think the easy answer is Josh McDaniels, but I'm looking for
Okay.
another culprit here.
They said Josh McDaniels would be a financial
Mm.
disaster for the Raiders. So
Yeah,
that's something fun
they
to
committed
look
a
at.
lot to him. They committed a lot to him. Low key answer though, low key answer, Dennis Allen.
Ooh,
Dark
okay,
horse candidate. Dark horse
okay.
candidate. Yeah, I
How,
could
how
I could see that happening.
how you feel about Kingsbury? You think he sticks around?
Kingsbury, that's who I was really looking for. But yeah, I think he's definitely out. But I don't think he'll be the first to be fired.
Gotcha.
Right. I think it's happening, but they might, but I don't think they're
I
gonna
could see
fire him.
Houston canning Lovey pretty quick too.
That's what I'm saying. I think Lovey got to be up there. But yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I
All
mean,
right, man.
if the Saints do get rid of Dennis Allen, you think they make a huge push for Peyton to come back?
I think that is in the cards, but ultimately, I think Peyton's done with them. He's got his legacy there. Got that. He doesn't owe them anything.
Right.
He doesn't
He
know
got him a
anything. But I
Super
do
Bowl.
think exactly. But I do think they look offensive, offensive minded head coach. I think it's been disappointing for Dennis Allen. I think he's bungled the offense in general this year. Um, but what he brings defensively, I don't know that they can replace. But it's just like one of those things where I think they might make that move. You know,
Yeah. I just
um,
don't see how you don't give Jameis at least a chance. That's what just blows
yeah,
my mind and continues to blow my mind.
yeah. And it was the Bucks game that did him in, and like, damn, I mean, that was eons ago. It seems
Yeah.
like,
I
and
don't
it's been that since then. Since then, so all right, man. Let's get into this third down action. Let's not keep the people waiting. Because I think they want to see what you're going to do on fourth down of the current top five draft order, Drew. Which team can absolutely not afford to miss on their draft selection the most? I'll give you the five teams. Talking about that game is Houston, Chicago, Arizona. Seattle has a pick here, but I'm not talking about them. So I skipped, and it's the top six, actually. So
okay.
Houston, Chicago, Arizona, Indianapolis, or ATL, and why?
So I'm gonna say I want to say Houston because they need something.
Right,
But I think the fans are even more restless in Chicago. And I think they need to get Justin Fields a shiny new toy to grow with going forward. I think they need to get best receiver, best whatever
right.
offensive weapon available for that dude
Yeah,
and just let him just go. So
yeah,
I think Chicago has to nail this pick. They have to have a good draft. They have to at least be competitive next year
yeah.
because Fields is killing himself out there for them,
He is. He
and they
is.
need someone to join the fight. And whether and I mean to be honest with you, Chase Claypool, we got to remember that he's
Yeah.
still learning that offense, so that's huge. If they can get another wide receiver
Right.
or the best tight end, like if they can pull a if there's a I don't think there is a Kyle Pitts out there this year, but if they could find someone like that
Mm,
to pair and be that big three for him with
right.
Claypool, Fields, and question mark. I think that's what they got to do.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. And I agree. Like I think Houston is they're too many picks away. So if they miss on,
Right.
their biggest selection, they're still
We
gonna be
expect it
bad.
almost.
Right.
you
I
know?
could I honestly could make a case for Arizona as well. I think
Yeah.
Chicago is the right answer, but I think
Well, now they
Arizona
got to
really
get JJ's replacement.
damn sure. And I mean this is tail end of the career, JJ. Like tail end. Obviously he's retiring.
Yeah.
So but still to replace that production. I mean, you saw what he almost wrecked the game single-handedly on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
So they got to get that defensive spark in Arizona because they
yeah.
got the offense. If that's who they're going with, Kyler, they got the offense.
Yep. I'm with you,
Well,
man.
speaking of quarterbacks, man, fourth down, who has the worst quarterback situation? Denver,
Ooh.
Washington, or Indianapolis? Because you got
Oh
to admit, we
man.
got to, unfortunately, he's my guy, but we got to throw Washington in on it because
Yeah.
Heineke got benched for Wentz and he threw a touchdown.
Yeah. I would say who has the damn. I want to say Washington just because like that's a team that's clearly right on the cusp, but so was Indianapolis. I think the recency bias in me says Washington, but honestly, I probably do have to say Indianapolis. No, I am going to go with Washington because I think this year Washington's defense has been a little resurgent and getting him in a lot of games. They're a lot better than they were last year, and they still don't have Chase Young.
Yeah.
You know,
And McLaren and Dotson clearly have
and
shown they can be a 1-2
yep,
punch at wide receiver.
and they're working very well together. So yeah, I would say they need to figure out that quarterback situation because I think that instantly puts Washington in the somewhere in the top three of that division. You
Oh,
know,
can you see
and
them with
and it's
CJ
looking
Stroud?
strong. Yeah, I swear the NFC East better not do a loop and just be they better not be the NFC South next year. You know what I'm saying? Because they were the NFC South last year, and now
Yeah,
they're
I hope
not.
they sustain it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're
And
we're
then
looking at
they
you, Philly. We don't want y'all to ruin Jalen Hurts. All right, Sean. Well, I got a fun segment for you. It's called In or Out, and
okay.
I'm gonna give you 5 teams, and we can go back and forth on if we think they're gonna be in the playoffs or out.
All right.
So we got to start
Run it.
with our beloved Detroit Lions. They took a huge blow at Carolina this week. If you want to go ahead and pull up the standings so you can see who's on the cusp there. Currently out and have to play Green Bay on the last game of the season, which I think is going to have major implications.
Yeah, it really is, man. And they do have the dub and they're fresh in their brains over Green Bay earlier this season. So I think that definitely helps, man. I think I don't think the NFC East is getting 3 teams in. I
Okay.
just don't. I don't
Commanders
really
are going to
see it
fall.
happen. Yeah, I think they probably fall. Seattle's got a big game this week, but Detroit has the easy pickings and facing Justin Fields. So I think they probably get a win, especially after getting embarrassed last week against the Panthers. True.
Can't let Fields run all over.
It's still Detroit though, man.
Yeah.
So it's still Detroit. I'm gonna say, in true Detroit fashion, I'm gonna say out. I'm gonna say out.
All right.
I think Seattle might get in there.
Well, you kind of answered my next one. I got the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I think with Washington, as far as let me pull up their schedule. I mean, I think it's division games coming down the stretch, right? Like that's what it is. And if they're facing divisional teams, like I feel like if they were facing, so they got Dallas the last game of the season, but then before that they have Cleveland. So what is
Cleveland and Dallas?
And
does 1-1 get them in?
Matter of fact, no. I was looking at this one. It was the reason that it was fresh in my mind because I honestly think Washington could get upset this weekend against the Deshaun Watson led team, who I think he's probably wants to make a statement before going out like to the offseason. So I think that's one to look out for this weekend, and then facing Dallas. So I gotta say Washington's out. What you think, man?
I think so too, man. Especially now that they all of a sudden have a quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
It don't look good. Don't look good for old Ron, who I hope gets to come back and do right next year.
Do we get a full Wentz game, like a true Wentz game in front of Deshaun Watson this week?
I think we do, man. I think we do. I think we get Carson Wentz versus Deshaun Watson.
Right back to earth.
And then Heineke will get sent to slaughter against Dallas the last game of the season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Then you really got a quarterback because then you just seen both of the quarterbacks you had get beat consecutive weeks. You know?
Then you got to draft somebody.
You got it. Yeah.
All right, my man. Tennessee Titans.
Ow. Yeah. I just talked about it. We just talked about it, man. They are donezo. I don't see it happening unless the only thing, the defense is still there and King Henry still running wild. So I don't even think teams they can't not see what's coming. You know, like they're gonna fight you, but ultimately, I think if you can put enough offense together, that's it. So I gotta say they're out.
Yeah,
I gotta say they're out.
That means the old Jacksonville Jaguars winning that division. Love it.
Jaguars. I mean,
the way they're playing, that's more fun playoff wise. You know, like the Jaguars are going to compete, and I'm here for it.
And how different is it from this earlier this season when Tennessee looked like they could take it early?
It looked like they could get the 1 seed easily.
You know? Yep.
Ooh. Did they? Might be for another episode, but they might have a QB situation on their hands.
And talking about, I mean, man, in Tennessee's, I mean, it's honestly it's looking like a wrap. Talking about them, they got Dallas this week, this Thursday. That's I don't know. And then an offensively resurgent, talking about putting up numbers. Jacksonville team last game of the season. So
they play Jacksonville last game.
That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. Ask and we shall receive.
We shall receive. The NFL provides. It provides.
Yeah. How you feeling, in or out? The Dolphins of Miami.
I was thinking about them a little earlier. Now the team is a little concussed.
Bridgewater's
Uh,
playing Sunday.
are we gonna get sneaky Teddy coming back in, trying to do his damn thing and get this team into the playoffs? Is that what he's trying to do? Oh man, okay. Teddy's gonna have opportunity, Drew. Last game at New England this week.
Okay, that's a winnable game with
It's a
them
winnable
in
game.
distress as well.
Right. And then last game of the season at home versus the New York Jets.
Ooh, who's
So
also in distress.
they
Or Mike White could take care of
right. I mean, but it's an
God, we
intriguing
got some
slate to
great
say the
games
least.
coming.
It's
God,
an
we got some
intriguing
great.
slate. So, man, I'm gonna have to say I think they get the 9-8, man. I think what are they at? What's their record right now? They 8 and 7.
8-7.
Oh, I think they get the 10-7, man.
Okay, that gets them in.
The trickery, man, the trickery with that team. I don't think Teddy's gonna screw this up. Like, didn't he got in and did his thing with Waddle and Hill, right? Like he didn't largely screw it up, I feel like. And I feel like having some time to see Tua operate a little bit more before going out helps him out a little bit more. He's thrust back in, but now he's got a whole week to prepare.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me is the Dolphins are currently on a 4-game losing streak.
That they are. That they are. But how Dolphins would it be to like finally get it right?
With
You
Teddy.
know, I think yes, and I think I was about to say Mike White, but the coach, I think the coach is gonna put Teddy in a good position to not have to do too much. I mean, damn, you seen Waddle just take a 17-yarder all the way to the house? Like that's what this team is. So that's all they need. That's all they need. And I
The
think
great thing is, that's the only AFC spot still up for grabs. Chargers clinched their spot with that win. So
yeah,
number 7's all it is. All right. Well, let's switch back to the NFC because someone's got to get that 7 seed. Mm-hmm. Is it the Green Bay Packers?
Oh man, Green Bay. What to make of Green Bay? What are they going to do? I got to pull it up. Just bear with me for just a second. I'm about to go down to old Green Bay. Excuse me, up to Green Bay. I'm going up to Green Bay.
There you go.
And I mean, Drew, we just talked about earlier, man. They are not necessarily heating up. Like, I don't care what that win says. Like, they just pulled it out. Like, they gave it up. And guess who they got, baby? Vikings, it is all divisional Lions. Down the stretch. Yeah. It's Vikings and Lions, man. That's who it is.
Oh, my.
No, they not getting in. This team is not getting in there. No,
I like it. Who you think? So who gets that 7th seed for you? Is it Seattle sneaks in?
I think Seattle does. I think you get a little bit of early season Geno coming back.
Yeah.
Not doing too much just to get enough. Matter of fact, let me pull up Seattle. Who does
Seattle
Seattle
plays the Rams.
Yeah.
To end the year. So that helps them out. And this week, they got the Jets.
I think Seattle gets in. I think Seattle gets in because I don't think Seattle's giving up 51 to the Rams. I don't think Seattle's giving up 51 to the Rams. So I think Seattle gets in. Geno don't do too much. Put it on the running backs. Give it to Metcalf.
You're gonna see how I feel about it come lock time. But I think Green Bay might stay in it. Okay. True Aaron Rodgers fashion. Can you imagine the storyline of Aaron Rodgers willing this team into the last playoff spot? Come on.
I mean,
then having to turn around and play Kirk Cousins and the Vikings in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh man, what a way for Minnesota to exit! Like for Aaron Rodgers to lose the division to him, only NFL is scripted. Them.
We just wrote the best season finale.
Man, I would buy tickets to that. Right. I would definitely buy tickets to that. All right, man. No, let's
do some matchups, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're already talking about it. Honorable mention. We got to touch on it real quick because it's a big matchup, but surprisingly, neither one of us picked it. It's the Bills at Cincinnati Monday night, day after New Year's. You're gonna be hanging out. You're gonna be resting from going back to work and all that nonsense. But can
Nonsense.
the Bills go into Cincinnati and lock up? Hopefully, make one step forward
Yeah.
to that number one seed.
This is definitely, I mean, arguably in the national media eyes, this is a game of the week in a lot of playoff seasons. This is why we have to mention it because there's a lot of playoff implications or seeding going into the last week of the season that ride on this game at the top of the AFC. The Buffalo Bills can keep the one seed right now with the W, but if they lose it, that now elevates Kansas City. That now puts the
Cincy's in the mix,
Bengals. Since he's now
and
they
they
can
got
get
game in
there,
hand.
and I think that moves them up to the 3 seed, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just better matchups. I mean, you want to play who you want to play, right?
Yeah.
So Buffalo's in the driver's seat. They're on the road. Bengals getting hot.
That's crazy.
That's
that you got to think that's the 3 seeds with Jacksonville holding down the 4 seed and barely having a winning record. So it's Bengals, Bills, and KC just battling on who takes a week off.
Man, I hope Jacksonville sneaks somebody in the playoffs, man.
I do too. I do too. They'll play the best wild card team, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. I love wild card weekend, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What my first matchup of the week is, like we just talked about it's huge. It's the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Kirko's got to go to Lambeau, and Packers
got to go to Lambeau.
Green Bay's fighting, man. I see Aaron Rodgers willing this team into the playoffs.
Well, and for as much as I, shat on the Packers for basically pulling that game out, they did pull it out. Like they did win the game, and they're, like I said, their skill position players did make the plays when they needed to be necessary. And that's what Aaron Rodgers gives to the team. Like he puts them in a position to win. The defense, Devondre Campbell coming up with the big pick. You know what I mean? Like the secondary, Jaire Alexander looking like the Jaire Alexander.
That was the best interview, man. It was such a great interview after the game. If you hadn't seen it, please go check it out online. It is fantastic. But like we said, we could see these guys playing more times than this.
Yeah. And Watson had they had opportunities to score touchdowns that they missed. So maybe those come back a little bit in this game. They could definitely. I mean, they're at home too.
Yeah.
So this is where you want to play. If you want to play Minnesota right now, if you have to play them, you want to play them at home in Lambeau.
Game. Let's do this.
Yeah. And now they need to lean into the rush game. They need to continue to lean.
I haven't seen anything on if Dillon's back or not. So that'll be a big question mark heading in this game if AJ Dillon's okay.
Yeah. Well, as long as both of them are great. But if you only have one of them, I think you're fine still, you know? So I'm looking forward to this game. And I think it is the game of the week, the afternoon game of the week.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, what matchup you looking forward to this week?
Drew, I am going with Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Ooh,
and maybe the unlikely matchup.
I like it.
Yes. But this matchup right here, if you think about it, for playoff and seeding purposes, this is another key game for Baltimore actually hosting. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a huge game, and if Jackson can't go, I don't know if he's I don't know. It's apparently stay today.
You were talking about you hope the Jaguars sneak somebody in the playoffs. If the Ravens win this, then that they pretty much have the 5th seed. So that would be Jacksonville hosting Baltimore in the first round wild card weekend.
And, we know how Baltimore can be offensively a little bit. Like they could definitely be had. And like I said, if Jackson can't go, then Huntley has to get he has given them magic before, but all of that, they have to have it now. Like what he gave you earlier was great and it's lovely, but now you have to have it because if your quarterback can't go, this is going to be great, for the rest of your season. You know what I'm saying? So
they need Duvernay healthy. They need Andrews catching.
And that's the thing is last week, Drew, they only scored 17 points, and with Pittsburgh being as erratic as they are offensively, you know what the defense is giving you. I don't know that 17 points is going to get it done against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Just them being unpredictable. So, and Huntley.
I'm just saying Trubisky wins. When you put Trubisky in, he wins game.
Yeah, man. I can't call it on Mr. Trubisky. But
I
I
was like, I
mean,
can't cuss on that.
yeah, nah. But no, Huntley only threw for 115 yards. So I need the skill position players to step it up because they didn't last week, and they're going to need it a little bit more being a divisional matchup, man.
Yeah, I like it, man. Well, we got to talk about our conjoined matchup of the week. A lot on the line here, and to be honest with you, man, I feel good heading into it because if we lose, I'm good. Like I don't necessarily want to win the division with a losing record. So
coming in all nonchalant, just man, it don't matter. And for him, honestly, I feel like Drew is definitely being truthful because if they win, great, they get into the playoffs.
The pressure's on you guys.
He gets to talk shit to me like that.
Yeah, that's
they
it.
take the division, pull the rug right from under our feet. I don't feel great going into this game.
The pressure, you got to admit, all of the pressure is firmly on Tampa Bay. We're not supposed to win this game.
Yeah, and
we're not supposed to even be here.
Yeah, and we're at home. We are supposed to be here, but we're not supposed to be in this position.
Oh, I hope we wear the Carolina Blues. We always wear the Carolina Blues when we come down to Tampa.
Yeah, I don't know what they're wearing, but whatever the hell they wear, they need to wear a winning outfit is what they need to wear. They need to wear a winning outfit. Man, I mean, we haven't looked good going to this game. The saving grace is I feel like because this team absolutely has to have it, like this is for the division. This is how we
play better with the pressure.
This is how we're getting into the playoffs. It has to come together now. The Mike Evans, Tom Brady connection has to come together now. We need Chris Godwin. Russell Gage looked good last week. Finally.
Yeah.
Finally looked good. So Julio's getting involved. Tom needs to get his head out of his ass.
Come on, Tom.
I mean, he's missing Mike, throwing picks, missing Julio, wide open plays. Like, I don't know what's going on with Tom, but maybe he's finally starting to break down. I don't know.
A single life aim for him, man.
We got to stop the rush game, man, because we didn't stop you the last time. You beat our ass 21-3 at home.
Yeah.
So
we gonna be running. We gonna be running.
That they are.
That's gonna be huge, man. Like, because that's really, like you said, that's all we got. I don't really believe Sam Darnold's gonna beat you. So if y'all stop our run game, we're in trouble. But I don't want this to be one of those 9-6 games.
I don't want that. That's too much pressure at that point. Talking about pressure, like trying to win a 9-6 game.
When anybody can just run off on a touchdown at the last second and win the game.
That would leave a poor taste.
I want y'all to murder us, or I want us to murder y'all. I don't want none of this nail biter crap.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we were going to get a nail biter with Tampa's consistency, but I think we are still the better team. That's the only saving grace I have in this fight. This dog in this fight is that the Tampa's ultimately a better team. On paper, they're not playing like it though, so that's what I'm scared of.
That's fair, man.
Who do you think wins?
I mean, just the way the season's going.
Unless you picked.
No, I didn't. I didn't dare touch this in my life. I want nothing on. I don't want this on record because I honestly do not know. But just to mess with your sheer anger this season, I can see Carolina sucker punching y'all. To be honest with you, man.
I unfortunately can see Carolina sucker punching this too. And put it this way, for as back and forth as I've gone, I would say like I'm about 50-50 on whether
Carolina's it's a coin toss win. For sure.
Yeah, I don't
it all depends on who. If it's a close game, I feel like y'all are gonna eke it out in like the fourth quarter or overtime again.
I feel like we had our luck last week,
but you had it the week before and the week before.
Man, we listen.
How many overtime games have y'all won this year?
2.
Okay,
I think we
seems like
lost one too.
7.
I think we lost one too. Yeah, it's just the 2 minutes in the fourth quarter feels like overtime for the Buccaneers.
That's fair.
The last 2 minutes. So
yeah.
But I'm about 50-50, man. Like I feel like if the Bucs come out and they're able to establish either a deep play earlier or a big play early, maybe offensively or defensively, that definitely helps. But if they don't get that, then we're looking at a boring 3 quarters until
right. Well, so I'm worried about y'all's pass or rush defense, and I'm worried about our pass defense. So it's going to be whose true offense can take hold. Right. Like, can y'all get your pass game going? Can we get our run game going? Whoever does better at stopping that is going to get this win.
Yeah, and I don't know if Vay is playing. I don't know if Vay is going to play. our offensive line is in tatters right now. So the offensive play calling, which has been shit, needs to they finally need to accommodate that. Like they
Yeah.
need to compensate
Oh,
for the lack of an offensive line that we have.
Mr. Burns going to meet Mr. Brady this week?
He had 2 sacks last game. I
Yeah.
definitely think Brian Burns is getting at least one. Don't let this man disrupt the game because he can. He
He
can wreck
can.
it. He
I
can
hope he
wreck it.
recreates Tom's trophy toss if he gets a sack. Because he did Russell Wilson's 50-yard line prayer talk. I
Oh,
hope he
wow,
recreates the toss.
man.
I need
Really?
NFL players hire me. I want to help with these celebrations.
Social, just a straight up social media guy. Like whatever
Yeah,
you
right.
need,
Just
he
hit
can
me up.
do.
Hit me up.
Suggestions, graphics, whatever.
What
One
I
stop
can't
shop.
do is pick these locks. So don't come at me
Touche.
for if you're
Touche.
betting on these betting sites.
Yeah, well, Drew,
Unless you want to be 500.
players have learned enough via Calvin Ridley to not bet on games, so we
I
don't need
saw
to do that
somewhere
anyway.
where an NFL coach got suspended for betting, and it wasn't even anything to do with football. It wasn't college or NFL. Like, so you just can't do nothing?
Or your burner account needs to be good. One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week, me and Tony had a little fun just for exhibition, not counting towards our totals or anything. But in
Right.
true Drew fashion,
Oh,
I went 1-1.
Nah, I was gonna say since I had to miss, I will take on whatever Stegman put
Okay,
out
we can
last
do
week.
that.
So
Well, he went one and one.
if he was two,
He went one and
okay,
one.
yeah, I'll take it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that you're 22, 9-1.
Okay,
I'm
I'll take
16
that.
and 16.
Clearly in the lead here.
Because I picked the Jags to beat the Jets, but it came back and bit me. I picked the Panthers to lose to the Lions. Didn't happen, which I'm happy it didn't happen, but it still didn't happen. Tony picked the Dolphins to win. That didn't happen, but he did pick Chicago to lose to Buffalo, which did happen. So there we go. You were clearly running away with it this year.
Clearly, yeah.
So where are we starting this week?
Listen, I think my locks are a saucy this week.
Saucy. I went a little saucy too. So
okay. Well, listen, I think we're gonna go with let's go with the loser this week, and it is time to bury this team. The Packers get a loss this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings at home. Minnesota puts their stamp on the NFC North division. Up north, baby. They're coming home with it. Minnesota Vikings. Kirko going out with the Shooter McGavins, baby.
Well, we got a good old-fashioned lock-off there, sir, because I got Aaron Rodgers and company beating Minnesota this week.
Wow. Oh, wow. Drew trying to come back, even though it's mathematically eliminated, but he is just trying to stick it
mathematically eliminated.
One last time.
Hey, if you completely tank it, I could be back in this by playoff time.
That's true. That is true.
Is this tie gonna come back in to haunt you?
It could. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I will not cop out and just pick cupcakes. And when it comes to the playoffs, you can't.
I've learned that's done nothing but hurt me this year, so I'm having to pick these bold ones because that's the only ones I'm getting right.
A lot of parity this year. So that takes us back to the win on the other side of the ball. And for this team, I think talking about putting stamps on it, it's their time. Buffalo Bills get the win on the road at Cincinnati.
That is saucy.
Not from the Natty, but through on the Bengals. That's what Josh Allen's going to do, baby.
How many tables are going to die in Cincinnati this week?
Ooh, a lot. A lot. Matter of fact, if you're the CEO of the flip out tables, stock's going up, baby. Hey, go and put that call option in right now.
Well, I'm going with it, man, because I love this team minus their quarterback, and they get a different quarterback back this week. So I got Mike White and the Jets taking it to Geno and the Seahawks, furthering my storyline of the Packers sneaking into the playoffs.
There you go. And tanking mine with the Seattle Seahawks on the way.
That's why when we were all talking about it, I was like, ooh. Ooh, we got different
Yeah.
opinions on how this is going to carry
Yeah,
out.
and one is gonna happen, one's not. So
Right.
it's on wax now. We can't run away from it.
Watch the
So,
Commanders just lock down this last spot and all this be for nothing.
and I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be
Me
mad
neither.
at it because
Me neither.
they're a fun team. They're a
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
team. I like seeing what Jahan Dawson's brought, and I like seeing Terry McLaurin be Terry McLaurin. Albeit I like seeing it better with Taylor Heineke making the passes,
Yeah.
but
I think he just had a
still,
rough week. I hope he'll figure it out.
yeah. We'll
Yeah.
see, man. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, Shawn, where can they find you?
At the kid suds, man, on Twitter, at the kid underscore. Don't forget the underscore. At the kid suds on Twitter, at nickel underscore dom FB on Twitter. Haven't been as active, just been kind of running through some things, but hopefully getting
It's
back into that. So make sure you stick with us. It
it's
is
the
the
least
holidays.
productive week of the year, my man.
Yeah.
All good.
Of course, at nickel underscore dom football on the illustrious Instagram. Drew, where can they find you and your content at, man?
Check me out on at Laugh with Harrison on Instagram. See y'all at the Raleigh Improv this weekend, opening for Dusty Slay. I got some special prints just for the people that show up to those shows. So make sure if you're in the Raleigh area to come on out. And yeah, just stay tuned, man. We got these playoffs are going to be so good, and I can't
Yeah.
wait to share them with you. So
And while you at it, man, make sure you when you visit, comment. We want to know what you want to see in the
let
playoffs.
us
Just
know
hit
stuff,
us up.
man.
Hit us
Yeah,
up. Yeah, hit us up. We
we
want to
want
know
this show to be for the
what you're thinking.
fans.
Yes. What are you thinking? Like and comment, subscribe down below, comment down below and subscribe to the page, drewharrisoncomedy.com as always, man.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.